Good morning, friends. It's day 6 of the Nothing Left Behind November challenge. Have you been keeping up? Have you seen our playlist? If not, it's up here. Just click on that and it will take you to the whole playlist of the Nothing Left Behind November challenge. So what the Nothing Left Behind November challenge is every day in the month of November, I am preserving something. This week has been the week of apples. We are finishing off apples today, so we are doing all of the things apples. Come with me and let's go. I started yesterday, last night I started because we had about 40 pounds of apples I needed to process, and there was just no way between filming and everything else I needed to get done today that I was going to get all of those apples processed in one day. So let's go, and you guys can catch up with me in a little bit. I'm going to do a fast forward of me processing all the apples last night and all of the things that I did with those apples. Let's go.
We try to find our ways in life to give our hearts and soul a peace of mind. You just wanna drink your wine and grab the glass and let it go down. But I can't hold you any longer. I can't cope 'cause you're a storm. I wake up feeling even smaller, even when the storm is over.
Don't have a dehydrator? I've got a solution for you. Put your apples on a cookie sheet. You can use a silicone mat or you can use parchment paper. Set your oven to 170 degrees or whatever the lowest setting is. If you want, you can sprinkle cinnamon on your apples or you can leave them plain. Slide them into your oven and keep an eye on them. You can leave them in there overnight, and when you pull them out, they should be dehydrated in the morning. Let's make some apple pie bourbon. I have my apple scraps. I have my Old Forester Kentucky bourbon whiskey. I have about a tablespoon of ginger, freshly grated ginger. I have 3 sticks of Ceylon cinnamon. This came from Azure Standard. I have 4 whole cloves. I have allspice, and I have ground nutmeg. First thing I'm going to do is put all of our spices in so that way when I pour the bourbon over top, it will help incorporate those spices. I'm going to shove this Ceylon cinnamon sticks in the corners. You know what, I might get a 4th one so that way I cover all 4 corners. Got a 4th one. Sprinkle in our cloves. This is the ground nutmeg. I'm doing about, well, a little bit more than a teaspoon. That wasn't planned, but that's fine. It'll make it extra spicy. And this is the allspice. Now I'm going to pour the Old Forester in over top of the apples. And because this doesn't cover all the way, I was hoping it would cover all the way, but because it doesn't cover all the way, I will be leaving this on the counter to give it a shake every single day to make sure that the alcohol mixes throughout. So I'm going to put the lid on it, and this half-gallon mason jar came from Azure. So I'll link that down below as well. So day one of our apple pie bourbon. Show you how easy it is to make apple scrap vinegar. I put the lid on this, but the fruit flies are very, very attracted to this. So when you make this, you're going to want to cover this with a piece of cloth or a coffee filter. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a half of a cup of organic apple cider vinegar with the mother. I get mine from Azure Standard, so I will link it below. The reason you want to use this is because you are taking and borrowing some of the mother from this apple cider and putting it into this apple cider. Kind of like a SCOBY, if you've ever made kombucha. This is a half of a cup of cane sugar. You can use granulated sugar. It doesn't really matter. I just am using the cane sugar. And then I'm going to pour water. This is filtered water. You don't want anything with chlorine because chlorine will kill all of the good bacteria that's growing in here that is forming the vinegar. I'm going to take one of our tea towels, place it over top, and I need to find a rubber band, but I'm going to put a rubber band around this as soon as I find one. I have to go into Brian's office, but he's working right now, so I'm going to put a rubber band around this, and then I'm going to set this in a dark place for several weeks and let it develop. I'm probably going to let this go until probably the end of the month. So at the end of this month, we'll check on this and see how we like the vinegar that we're at that point. So when we're done with this challenge, we're gonna check on the vinegar. But it's that easy. Our vinegar is done. You can give it a stir if you want to. Here we go. I'm gonna use the back side of my spoon to get all the way in there. That's it. And again, you don't even have to stir it. You can leave it just as it is, and all those sugars will break down because the bacteria is going to eat those sugars. All right, let me move this out of the way, and then I'm going to show you our stock pot and our roaster that I have going, and it's been going for a while now. It is nighttime, and these have been cooking down all day in the roaster and in the large stock pot. I'm going to filter them out. First, I'm going to do them through a fine mesh strainer. Then I'm going to run them through a second time with a tea towel to filter out all the applesauce sediment. I swapped out to a smaller bowl to make it easier. I'm then going to transfer the applesauce from this bowl into the bigger bowl. I know there's no way all the applesauce is going to fit in this tiny bowl, but it balances easier on the edges of this one so I don't have to hold it. I can just crank this and it will fall right into the bowl. This is a food mill. I can link food mills down in the description if you don't know what a food mill is. It has this crank which pushes blades around, and then there is a tiny hole. Let me get it. You can see it. There are tiny holes where the small pieces of applesauce come out. Or you can do this with tomatoes to make tomato sauce. This is essentially what my juicer was doing the other day. This just does more at once, but requires more hand power. But I figured while this was straining, I can crank this. this is the only scraps that we have left from our Big Daddy stock pot that we have. So this is it. Let me take you over and show you how much apple sauce we got out of the large stock pot. After we drained the apple juice, put it through the food mill, this is what we ended up from both the roaster and the large stock pot. We have the crock pot completely full. This is going to be apple butter. Well, we ended up with this bowl. So we're going to turn this bowl into cinnamon applesauce and get that canned up. But it's 11 o'clock. So I'm probably going to do all of the canning tomorrow and get started on next week's projects tomorrow as well. But I'm still working on straining the juice. So as soon as I get all of the apple juice strained, I'll bring you back and I will show you how much apple juice we got from the roaster and from the large stock pot. All right, we just got done with the juice. I have my Vitamix pitcher completely full. I have a 1 gallon mason jar completely full. I have a juice pitcher completely full. I have my Brita filter completely full, or my Brita pitcher completely full. And I have 3/4 of this mason jar full. What I'm going to do next is I am going to take 5 cups of this and turn it into apple jelly. The rest of this is going to get canned up as apple juice. I'm not doing that though until tomorrow morning because it is now almost midnight. It is 11:40. So I will Hi. My floors are gross. My counters are sticky. I'm sticky. My kitchen's a mess. But we have food going on our shelves, so that's a plus. All right, I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Welcome back to day 7 of the Nothing Left Behind challenge. Yes, I am in the same outfit as yesterday, in case you were wondering. I spent 3 hours this morning cleaning the kitchen, scrubbing the floors on my hands and knees, cleaning all the apple goo off of my countertops, my cabinets, cleaning off all of the appliances so that we could start fresh today with a cleaner kitchen. So rather than putting on another outfit to get it covered in apple goo, I just threw the same outfit on. So moving forward, we're going to start with our apple juice. What I did was I poured all of that apple juice, reserving out 5 cups of apple juice in my Vitamix. I just use this because this is the biggest measuring cup I have. So I've reserved 5 cups of apple juice, set it aside so that we can make our apple jelly. But we're gonna get started finishing off this apple juice over here. So let me swing you around and that way I can show you what we're doing with the apple juice. We brought our apple juice back up to a safe canning temperature. I am adding 1/2 cup of lemon juice. I am using a bottled lemon juice. You want to use bottled lemon juice because it has a consistent pH, where fresh lemon juice does not have a consistent pH. All right, I have my jars in the canner and we're going to pull them out and we're going to start jarring this up. Let's go. Okay, let's start jarring this up. I have 7 quart jars in the canner warming up. We are going to fill this to a 1/4 inch headspace. I do have a towel down today to keep my countertops from getting so sticky because this applesauce and apple juice are very, very sticky. I'm hoping to jar up at least 10 quarts today of apple juice. What's your guess? What do you think we're gonna get? Fill back slightly. Let's take some of this out. A little more. All right. Don't forget to wipe your rim. I'm using vinegar to break down the sugars in the apple juice in case any got on the rim. And I'm going to grab my lid, grab a ring, screw it on fingertip tight, and put this in the canner. Let's go. In the canner, we have the canner up to a boil, so I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes. We're gonna let that run for 10 minutes. While this is running, I'm going to get started on the apple jelly. I started the apple jelly while I'm finishing up the last of the apple juice in the canner. I hit record, but it apparently didn't record, so we're gonna try again for the second time. What I did, since it's already mixed up and I can't reverse it and go back and show you, what I did was I added the 5 cups of our apple juice. I added our pectin. This was 6 tablespoons of pectin. And I used 7 cups of cane sugar. I am using the recipe out of the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. It is on page 107. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this run until this boils to where I can't stir this down anymore. And our canner is done. If you heard that timer go off, our canner is done running. So I'm going to turn off the burner, remove the lid with a hot pad before I burn myself, remove the lid, and I'm going to let the canner sit for 5 minutes to come down a little bit so I can remove those jars. By the time this cools down, hopefully we will have our jelly ready to be jarred up so I can throw our jelly into the canner. And then we have one more project after this that we're going to get to. When this comes to a rolling boil to where I can't stir it back down, I'll bring you back on and show you what that looks like, because then we will be to the point where we can can this up. All right, I'll see you in a second. All right, as you can see, we are to a boil that I cannot stir down. So we are going to let this go, and I'm going to let it run for 1 minute as I try to stir this, just to make sure that we have it at the right consistency that we want it. And then we're going to jar it up. It is 7:02. So we will go until 7:03. I'll pull it off, and then you'll come with me as I jar it up and get it into the canner. What's your favorite jelly? Do you like strawberry jelly, grape jelly, apple jelly? I guess we can call apple butter a jelly too. It's a kind of a jelly of sorts. It's just a bit thick. But what's your favorite kind of jelly? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to know what kind of jelly is your favorite. All right, it is 7:03. Let's take this off of the burner and get it all jarred up. It's jelly time. Let's get the jars out of the canner. They're in the canner warming up. Let's get them out and start jarring up some apple jelly. I am using 4-ounce jelly jars. We're going to fill this to 1/2-inch headspace. We've got our debubbler. At this point it's still liquid, but still nice to use the debubbler just in case. And we've got just at a 1/2-inch headspace. Got my lid and my ring. And I'm going to throw this back into the canner. We're going to speed this up again so this goes a little faster for you. We started last night. We started cooking down the apples. It has gone down by about half. It was just to the very, very tippy top where I could barely get the lid closed. I am sort of tweaking a recipe from the complete book of home canning. It called for a ridiculous amount of sugar, or you could use honey. I decided that I wanted to try to add maple syrup. I had about 1/2 cup of maple syrup left, and so I figured I'd sweeten it up with some maple syrup, and then it said if you were going to use honey to do 1 cup of honey. Well, I didn't have a cup of maple syrup, plus I figured that would make it a little bit too mapley. But I do have a brown rice syrup. This is from Azure. You can get it on Azure or you can get it on Amazon. I got mine off of Azure. And I'm also going to add a splash of vanilla. Let's pull this forward, make it a little easier to reach and a little easier for you to see. Okay, so I'm pouring in my 1/2 cup of maple syrup. And then I'm going to pour in a 1/2 cup of brown rice syrup. Now this is about the consistency of honey. You can see this is about the consistency of honey. So this isn't going to pour as easily as the maple syrup did. This is super sticky. All right, let's get this in here, get it all stirred up. I've got the jars for this in the canner warming up. So as soon as this is ready to go, we are going to get this canned up. Now I do want to taste this, and my taste tester, Callista, she's the one who asked for this, my daughter. She's the one who asked me if I would make this, so I wish she was here to taste it before I get it all jarred up, but she's at work tonight. So, let me lean in here. Whew. It is really hot. All right, you're about to see my dirty dishes. See, canning is messy. And you can see I have a cookie order due, so I have my mixer ready to go and my icings ready to go. Okay, that's pretty good. It's not as sweet as a lot of the apple butters, but I think I like it better because it's not that sweet. All right, let's get this jarred up. It would help if I added the vanilla. I forgot the vanilla. You can hear our jars pinging. I love the sound of a ping. I'm just doing a splash of vanilla. That was probably about a tablespoon of vanilla. You know what? I think I am going to add another half of a cup of the brown rice syrup, just to give it a little bit more sweetness to balance out those spices. Because while I may like it not as sweet, I am giving this, mostly this is going to be given as gifts, so I want to make sure other people like it. All right, let's get a spoon and give this a taste. Okay, I get that hint of maple on the back end, and I'm getting a bit of that ginger on the back end. That's really good. So if you guys want an apple butter that does not have as much sugar as the traditional apple butter, the brown rice syrup and a half of a cup of real maple syrup added to this, plus a splash of vanilla. It is amazing. You've got to try it. All right, let's get this canned up.
How far you drifted away along the street. How far you drifted away, away from me.
Whew. We're done. Well, sort of. I thought we were done and had processed all of our apples, and then I found another bag in our garage root cellar area. So I'm going to keep those for fresh eating. If I notice that they start to go soft, I am going to chop them up, dehydrate them so that we can use them for things like oatmeal. So are you ready to see what we got accomplished over the last 2 days? All right, let's do it. So first thing, we have our apple butter here. We ended up with 12 of the 4-ounce jars of apple butter. We have 4 8-ounce jars of apple butter. We had just under a pint. I didn't can this, so we kind of dug into this morning for breakfast. We have 12 of the 4 ounces of the apple jelly. I have 1 8-ounce apple jelly. I have 1 3/4 pint of jelly. And I had this tiny little bit that I couldn't can up, so I stuck it in one of my yogurt containers with the removable lid, stuck it in the fridge so we can use this up. Then we get to applesauce. I didn't quite have a quart, so I just left this. This one has been in the fridge. We got 3 quarts, with 3.5 quarts of the cinnamon applesauce. We got 12 quarts of apple juice, plus a little drink for me for later. And then these we've been snacking on. So I can't tell you what we actually got because as they came out, we were snacking on these because these are so good. These are our apple chips. Right now we have a 1/2 gallon of the unseasoned, I didn't put any cinnamon on them, these are just plain. And our cinnamon apples, we had probably about a gallon of these, and now we're down to about a 1/2 gallon. Next is our homemade apple pie bourbon, and I'm actually going to give this a shake since it's a new day, and we want to shake this up every day to make sure that those apples get completely covered. But you can tell it's starting to get dark. And then we have our apple cider or apple cider vinegar. I have a jar on top keeping all of our apple cores down underneath our solution. And I just used a towel, a tea towel over the top of this. It's one of our stained ones, so I kind of use it for things like this that it doesn't have to be pretty, and it just keeps the bugs out. It has been a week. We have preserved so many apples. We have preserved just shy of 200 pounds of apples. If you missed any of those videos, click this link right up here and it will take you to the playlist and you can see everything that we've canned up in our first week of the Nothing Left Behind November Challenge. If you want to follow us for week 2, we're doing beans. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, click on that bell so that you get notifications when we post our videos. All right, time to clean this mess up and get started on my beans. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.